AITA. Girlfriend is mad at me because we're constantly together and I am overwhelmed. Update. She came to bed, but didn't say goodnight. When we woke up, it was awkward for a few minutes. But then she asked if I could really see myself with her for the next amount of years. I said I do, but not if we can't learn to communicate better. Initially, this restarted the fight. But after some purge crying, we both realized that our issues stemmed from our parents. She was always shunned by her mother and her dad was never around due to being in the military, so she craves that kind of affirmation and attention. I, on the other hand, am an only child of divorce that, when I wasn't being grounded and isolated by mother for literal months on end, was hiding in video games from my dad and stepmom's violent fights. Isolation became a point of misery but also comfort and safety for me. So I had no idea how to articulate my need for alone time, and she had no way of articulating how I was making her feel. Yes, I sent some mixed signals last night, but not on purpose. I literally just have some PTSD from my childhood regarding loneliness and isolation, as does she. Many of you were right, we need counseling. And I'm so happy to announce that she agreed to it, enthusiastically. Thank the lot of you for your help and patience. I'm very thankful for the perspective I was able to gain by posting here. I've, 27M, been with my girlfriend, 26F, for almost 5 years and we've been basically married since day one. She moved in with me, we've lived in over 5 different houses over 2 states in the time we've been together. We've worked many jobs together and are very much in love. The thing is, other than 6 days when she went to a family funeral out of state, we have never not been together. We've had little tiffs regarding this before, but I think she's finally had it. She always wants to be doing something with me. Crafting, watching movies, playing outside, which just means being outside basically, etc. But I'm finding it increasingly hard to get excited about hanging out with her since we are virtually never apart from one another except for when we go to work. This obviously hurts her feelings and I hate hurting her. But I just can't take it sometimes. She's a type that always has to be talking about something too. Her family drama, her job drama, inconsequential tidbits about her coworkers, random questions, random sad news stories, etc. non-stop. We barely have silence when we're together. I cannot stand that kind of thing. I hate not being able to just be in a room together without having to fill the air with noise. I try to curtail my frustration, but it usually just comes off as me being short or indifferent with her. I can't help it. When you have been with someone every single day for 5 years straight, I don't think it should considered weird to be a little bored. Granted, I'm no amusement park of a person and my seasonal depression is hitting right on time these last few weeks, so I could stand to do better when it comes to suggesting things for us to do. But she takes any inkling of indifference as inevitable abandonment. So it's hard to have a conversation about this stuff without her jumping to a conclusion, which then stress me out and makes me even more impatient. She left bed to go and sleep on the couch about an hour ago and I'm just trying to figure out how to fix this. Too long did not read. I'm overwhelmed by my girlfriend's constant presence and talking. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. It sounds like your girlfriend is codependent on you. Not the asshole, but I do think you'll need to have a conversation with her about spending time apart. It sounds like she is completely dependent on you and that isn't healthy with how you're explaining it. If she can't accept that you need space sometimes, maybe try some kind of couples therapy. There may be some kind of underlying issue that needs to be addressed before things get better. Not the asshole. You guys need time apart, not a break or a break-up, but you need to sit down and talk her about how you feel. You need to tell her how you're feeling. I know you've tried, but if there's a way to write it out, text it out, some way to put it to words so she can see or read it when she has calmed down, it's usually easier. Being together 24/7 does get boring. I can tell you do truly love her more than anything, but it's okay to get overwhelmed. I have felt it too at points in time. Not the asshole. We all need alone time. She does seem extremely dependent on you, which is not really healthy. I couldn't cope with being around someone that much. Try to explain to her you need some space on occasion to help recharge. Not the asshole. But she's also not the asshole. Maybe this isn't meant to be. Obviously you can try to work through it, but naturally chatty people will keep talking. Silencing them dims a light in them and no one deserves that. Be with the person who brings out the best in you. Not the asshole. It's completely reasonable for you to need some alone time. She mentioned in exasperation that maybe she should just go away for a few weeks or something, and she always says that when we have these fights. Even though, deep down, I feel like I should be the one to leave for a few weeks, it doesn't feel good to have her just slap that down as an option instead of asking me how I'd feel about it. I also don't know if that's the answer. And I don't know if literal separate vacations would be healthy for us when we've never actually had a vacation together that wasn't just obligatory, out of state, family gatherings. Not the asshole, you both need to be your own person, but she seems far too dependent on the relationship. My significant other is very needy, but if I ask for some time to breathe, hang with friends, or even if I'm frustrated about something, she will give me that space, time. Am I the asshole about being honest about behavior I don't mesh well with in others, as an autistic person? I am a 29-year-old autistic female. I've had several great relationships, but they always end because I don't want kids. I'm the type of person who happily helps others in an emergency. I can fix your computer or car, give rides or food. I can help you solve problems logically. But I cannot provide emotional support. I'm not saying it's bad for people to want it. I'm just not the person who can give you that. I like to solve problems. When someone just wants to complain about a problem, and tells me not to try to solve it, that it can't be solved, it does something bad to my brain. It gives me anxiety, and I've even had meltdowns because of it. I don't complain, and I also don't require emotional support, and I never have in my entire life. In fact, my parents took me to be evaluated in the first place because I'd fall and get injured but not cry or react at all. When someone pours out anxiety to me, I just soak up their anxiety and my brain can't deal. If they don't leave me alone, then a panic attack can come on, and I've had ones that took days to recover from. Lately I've somehow ended up on dates with guys that just want to complain to me. Once I'm a captive audience in the pub, they just pour out everything wrong with their life, the world, their job, or things they hate, or what gives them anxiety. If I didn't enjoy a date, I thank the person for their time and tell them I didn't feel a connection and wish them good luck. I do this because many guys complain about ghosting and having their time wasted. They usually ask why, and I always tell them the honest reason, and they always get angry. But I didn't know what else to do. Recently a friend set me up with a guy. I don't know why she set me up with him when she knows I don't provide emotional support. There was cable news playing in the pub. The guy was staring at the news like a zombie, and kept anxiously saying he felt like the whole world was coming apart. I despise cable news since it just works people into agitated states on purpose and manipulates their emotions. They all do. I told the guy the news was upsetting him, so let's go somewhere else. He said very pompously, well, some people could turn their back and ignore these issues, but I'm not one of these people. I do not turn my back and ignore issues. I am very informed and spend most of every weekend volunteering in the community. What I don't do is sit and stare at a TV and whine hopelessly in a pub. Instead, I take action. I told him we could leave the pub and do a volunteer activity right then, Saturday afternoon, to make the world better. He said, well, we'll never be able to fix all of it, whatever we do will be pointless. The cable news was starting to give me a bad feeling, so I ended the date right there and said it would not work out. He asked why, so I told him why. My friend called me up later furious and told me I was an asshole and can't talk to people like that, and being autistic is not a good reason. Not the asshole. My friend called me up later furious and told me I was an asshole and can't talk to people like that, and being autistic is not a good reason. Your friend does not understand what autistic means. And your friend, as a result, put you into a lose-lose situation. You may need to remind your friend that she set you up with a person who you were unable to deal with, and if she cannot understand what this means, simply refuse to go on any dates with anyone she tries to set you up with in the future. Not the asshole. You're being honest about yourself. And truthfully, your comment about doing volunteer work was spot on. We may not be able to deal with all the world's problems, but we can help solve some of them. Not the asshole. You know yourself well, and are honest about what you want and need. Your friend thinks you're the asshole because you offered to do a volunteer activity with your date, instead of watching the news? Or because you told you didn't want to watch the news? Either way, the friend is way off the mark. Not the asshole. This has nothing to do with being autistic. You don't need to be autistic to not want to soak up a stranger's emotional problems. You'll find someone who doesn't have a pickup line like, "Are you a problem? 'Cause you're my whole life winking face." I think being honest with people will end up saving you lots of wasted time. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, she shouldn't have set you up with him when she knew you couldn't offer that. On top of that, you offered solutions and he just wanted to complain. Not the asshole. It is always an excellent idea to end a date as soon as someone starts being a pompous jerk. Saves you a lot of time. Sounds like you can let this friend know to not bother to set you up on dates anymore. I wouldn't trust their judgment. Not the asshole. And I like you. I wish I had more friends like you. Am I the asshole for not making my son include my best friend's son? I have had the same best friend, Mike, since I was in kindergarten. We went through school together, played sports together, were each other's best man, etc. Our wives are friends and we had our first kids within 6 weeks of each other. He and I both pictured our kids growing up and being as close to each other as we are. Well, it's not working out that way. I have 3 kids, Jake 10, Brandon 8 and Lizzie 2. Mike has 1 kid, Danny 10. Danny is autistic, so even though he is 10, he often acts more like he is half that age. Danny has a lot of sensory issues and is very prone to meltdowns when he is overstimulated, which happens very easily. Don't get me wrong, he's a sweet kid. But he just doesn't have much in common with my boys, and the older they get the worse it seems to get. I have had a lot of talks with the boys about how Danny is special and that they need to be patient with him and how he doesn't want to wrestle like they do. They are good kids, they don't bully Danny or anything like that. I have even seen them stand up for him with other kids at the park. But they don't want to hang around with Danny all the time. They want to go play football in the backyard or race their bikes, things that Danny just doesn't want to do. They don't want to watch the same documentary on wolves for the 20th time. It's gotten to the point that they don't want to go with me when I go over to Mike's. I don't blame them, they don't have a good time when they do. Next week is Jake's birthday and he asked to play laser tag. I agreed and told him that he could invite 5 friends. He asked if he had to invite Danny as one and I told him no. I knew that there was no way Danny could do laser tag, it would be sure to overwhelm him. When I told Mike what we were doing for Jake's birthday, he asked me to change it to something that Danny could be part of. I told him that I wasn't going to ask Jake to change his birthday for Danny. I offered to have Danny come over earlier or when we got back for the cake, but that wasn't good enough. Mike is accusing me of not wanting Danny around because he is autistic. The trouble is, he is kind of right. If Danny were normal, I don't know a better way to put it, then the odds are the boys would be closer. Or maybe not, maybe even if Danny wasn't autistic he might have different interests than my boys. Mike and I were so close growing up because we had so much in common, something our kids just don't have. I told Mike I'm not going to force the boys to spend time with Danny. He told me that I am an asshole and he doesn't want to be friends with an asshole. I feel like I am doing the right things for my kids, and they have to come first. But losing Mike as a friend hurts. And what about Danny? I don't want to hurt him either. Am I a asshole for not making Jake accommodate Danny? Edit. I have been told that the correct term is neurotypical, not normal. I'll use the correct term in the future. Not the asshole. You can't force children to become friends. You have been very empathetic to Danny, and thankfully your son seems to be as well. However, your son should not have to change his plans for his birthday to accommodate someone who is not a close friend. I cannot imagine how hard it must be to be the parent to an autistic child, but they have to respect boundaries. People are not going to always bend over backwards to accommodate Danny, and he needs to understand that. Not the asshole. The world doesn't revolve around your friend's son. As sad as it may be that the boys aren't close, you can't dictate what kind of birthday party your son, who is now growing up and is capable of understanding things like this, has, just to appease your best friend. Hopefully in time he'll calm down and understand. Not the asshole. By the way, the word you're looking for is neurotypical, instead of normal, whereas Danny is neurodivergent. It's not that one is bad or good, it's just that their brains work differently. Mike was way out of line for asking to change the birthday party to suit Danny's needs. You can't force kids to be good friends because their parents are. That's just life. Not the asshole. Mike is obviously struggling, and that's sad. I hope that Danny can find his own friends who do have similar interests. It would be different if your kids were completely shutting out Danny or mistreating him, but they aren't. Jake shouldn't have to give up his birthday wish to suit another kid. Mike needs to let Jake's birthday be about Jake. Not the asshole. When I told Mike what we were doing for Jake's birthday, he asked me to change it to something that Danny could be part of. I told him I wasn't going to ask him to change his birthday for Danny. As you should, the world does not revolve around Danny and Mike. Mike needs to realize that. Mike would appreciate if you told him that Danny has to change his interests, hobbies. Not the asshole. Even if you removed the autism, you just can't force people to be friends. Now that the kids are getting older, they want to branch out and do their own things, and a birthday party is absolutely a space where the birthday boy gets that autonomy. Not the asshole. You are making the assumption that your kids would be best friends if Danny wasn't autistic. Your children are separate people from you. There was never a guarantee they were going to best friends or even friends with Mike's kid. Mike was wrong for asking you to disregard what Jake wanted to do to celebrate his birthday in order to accommodate Danny. You need to do what is right for your children. You can't force them to be friends with anyone. They should have the freedom to choose who they want to hang out with. I'm sorry that it is costing you your friendship with Mike, but he is wrong for making choose between doing what is right for his kid versus what is right for your children. Not the asshole. I get that he wants his kid to have friends, but it doesn't mean that you have to sacrifice your kids and what they want for him. Am I the asshole for telling my brother he doesn't get how things work? My brother is divorced from Elle. They have my nieces and nephew together ages 13, 11 and 10. My brother married Carrie 2 years ago. He has primary custody because Elle travels for work, and when the divorce happened, she agreed if X was determined he wanted spousal support, which he fought for because he didn't want to go back to working full-time when they divorced, then she would need to keep her job and the kids deserved to have a home where the parent was actually at home with them enough. She calls the kids regularly throughout the weeks she doesn't see them, and she makes a point to take all her parenting time and show up for bigger stuff during her work weeks. My brother thought the kids would adore Carrie and would rely on her more as a mom since they don't see their mom that often. That hasn't happened. I don't think they dislike Carrie, but they certainly don't adore her, and they certainly don't treat her like the mom in their lives. They still talk to their mom about certain stuff, especially the girls, and she still is their number one. So what happened is my brother got this big project offered to him at his new job, and it means leaving for 3 weeks. The kids asked if they could speak to their mom about having the 3 weeks with her. He asked what about Carrie. They told him they would love the extra time with their mom. He said he thought it would be better to stay with Carrie and have their regular weekend with their mom. The kids were upset. The 13-year-old was angry. My brother told them Carrie was the one they saw more often, so it didn't make sense to be upset. The 13-year-old said Carrie isn't mom and they would kill for more time with her. Elle found out about the whole thing through the kids, and she told him she wanted the kids and was willing to take the time off work to have them those 3 weeks. He said no. Then he vented to me and told me how hard it is for him to believe that the kids feel this way. I told my brother he doesn't get how this shit works. That his remarrying didn't automatically give the kids a second mom. That Carrie's relationship with them was going to be different to Elle's starting out no matter where it ended up, and that at the ages of the kids, and the fact Elle was always present in some way and made the effort and never let them down, she was never going to be replaced as their mom. I told him it was kind of fucked up to want that to happen when Elle was always reasonable in the divorce and sacrificed what she would have loved because she knew he was willing to fight for what he felt he was owed. My brother is pissed at me for taking her side. But he especially doesn't like that I told him he didn't know how these things work. He said he has a full understanding of it. His kids are the ones who don't get it. He ranted to our mom about it, and while she backed me up on most of what I said, she did tell me I should have made it less of an attack against him. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Your brother is delusional and I think secretly hoped Elle would disappear and he could live a happy life with a new mom for the children. It bothers him. He has to accept that Elle is still the mom, and if he keeps on acting like that, the oldest might start to see the root of all evil in him. Hormones, disappointment, and a part-time jerk as a dad are an explosive combination. You just pointed out what he doesn't want to hear, but that doesn't make you the aw. Not the asshole. Your brother is being dense and stubborn, wanting his children to have a relationship they don't want with his new wife. He may not love his ex, but they do. He needs to realize that trying to alienate Elle by excluding her is going to destroy his and Carrie's relationship with him children. Well done for just being honest with him and supporting your nieces, nephews, and giving them the voice that their dad isn't hearing. He needs this wake-up call before he destroys his relationship with them. They will develop their own relationship with Carrie. One they are comfortable with. He can't force it or they will resent him, and it will destroy any chances of relationship between Carrie and his children. Not the asshole. My brother is pissed at me for taking her side, but he especially doesn't like that I told him he didn't know how these things work. He said he has a full understanding of it. His kids are the ones who don't get it. Am I so out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong. The kids don't get a lot of time to see their mother. Is he claiming that he knows their wants better than they do? At this point, it would be far better for all involved, including Carrie, if he relented and allowed them to spend that time with their mother, as they want. Otherwise they're going to resent the fact that they were forced, against their will, to stay with Carrie. Not the asshole. It's a little concerning that he doesn't understand, or doesn't want to understand, that they would prefer spending the time with their mother rather than with his new wife. It really seems that he is making his preference the priority instead of what's best for the children. Not the asshole. His kids are the ones that don't get how his kids feel. I suppose that is at least a novel argument, lol. Clearly not the asshole, clear words were needed. He is cruel when he denies them this time with their mom. Especially because Carrie doesn't have custody of the kids, so he is leaving the kids with someone who can't decide anything. I bet my ass this isn't okay. Not the asshole. He doesn't understand what his own children want when they're telling him loudly and clearly. Not the asshole, but your brother is for denying the kids' request to spend more time with their mother while he is away for 3 weeks. Everything you said was correct. He doesn't get how it works. Why he assumes that his new wife could just replace their mother who is present in their life just because she works is messed up. If I were Elle, I would fight to have the custody agreement adjusted since your brother is now working. I thought the whole reason Elle agreed to him having full custody was because he would be the stay-at-home parent.